Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? For today's video, I'm going to be going through some of my favorite mid-round running back targets. So I looked at all the running backs that are going between rounds 5 and 8, and I picked out 3 specific players that I think are great values at their current ADP, and these are running backs that I'm going to be targeting this year for fantasy. Before I break these 3 players down, I just want to say that if you're watching this video and you find yourself enjoying the content, please just leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Then also let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know if you're also going to be targeting these guys, or maybe I don't have a guy on here that you're looking at. So let me know who your favorite mid-round running back targets are. Give me your reasoning and I'll respond back to you as soon as I can. But let's get into it. My first mid-round running back target is Mike Davis. He's currently being selected as the running back 22, so basically a low-end running back 2, and then he's going in the early 5th round. And I just really think the situation with the Falcons is great for Mike Davis. I think the main thing that's kind of lowering his ADP is just that he's not an established workhorse running back. I mean, if you had like a consensus top 15 running back here with the Atlanta Falcons, I think they'd probably be a 3rd, maybe early 4th round pick. But it's just because Mike Davis hasn't been, a real life running back 1 basically ever in his career. So I think it does, make some people a little bit concerned with him, which is definitely fair. And to be honest, I didn't really think that the Falcons were going to let Mike Davis kind of just retain this workhorse role. I was shocked that they didn't bring in any major competition for him in free agency or the draft. But I mean, it's great news for Mike Davis that they did not, because if I'm looking at their depth chart right now, the Falcons have Cordero Patterson, who's a solid player, but he's not really a true running back. He's kind of more of a hybrid play guy. They can put him back there. The Bears used him as running back, but I mean, he started off as a receiver. He's a great kick returner, so he's definitely not a true running back and not a ton of competition for Mike Davis in terms of the every down carries. And then they have Quadre Olison, Tony Brooks James, Javion Hawkins, and Caleb Huntley. So really no one who has actually made their mark in the NFL. And even though Mike Davis doesn't have a huge track record of NFL success, he still has much more experience than the rest of this backfield. You also have new head coach Arthur Smith, who I think is a great fit for basically any fantasy options at the quarterback, wide receiver, or running back position. We saw how he used Derrick Henry last year as the ultimate workhorse. And now obviously Derrick Henry and Mike Davis are on totally different planets in terms of their skill sets. Derrick Henry is a clear top 5 NFL running back. Mike Davis obviously is not, but I do think it should indicate that Mike Davis will be given a solid amount of touches, and he's also going to have a lot of touchdown opportunities. He is a pretty big-bodied back, so he can get the ball in on the goal line. And then also Arthur Smith tends to have very efficient offenses with a lot of touchdown upside. We saw Derrick Henry just feast with 17 touchdowns last season, and that was with Ryan Tannehill rushing for a ton of touchdowns also. I don't really see Matt Ryan having that upside, so Mike Davis should be in store for a lot of rushing opportunities and a lot of touchdown opportunities. And he's also proved that he is very solid in the receiving game. So obviously with the Titans, Arthur Smith didn't really use Derrick Henry in the receiving game, but it's really just because that wasn't his skill set. But I really think he will get Mike Davis involved, especially because he does have that skill set. He got 59 passes on 70 targets last year, and that was only with him starting in 12 games. So basically just a very solid all-around back in an absolutely great situation, which is why I'm going to be targeting Mike Davis this year. The next mid-round running back that I'm going to be targeting is Myles Gaskin. He's being drafted as the running back 24, so basically right on that fringe of a lower-end running back 2 and a high-end RB3, and he's going in the late 5th round. He's really one of my favorite values at his current ADP of any position in fantasy football, and I really think he's lined up to be the starter this year. He does have a little bit more competition in his backfield than Mike Davis does. He has guys like Malcolm Brown and Salvon Ahmed, who I think are both better than anyone else that Mike Davis has in that backfield, but I do think it's clear that Gaskin is the top option, and his 2020 season is really just being wildly underappreciated. He finished as the running back 12 in points per game, and that was ahead of players like Josh Jacobs, Zeke, Eckler, and Antonio Gibson, and he wasn't even the established starter at the beginning of the season, so those numbers could have been higher, once he fully took over that role. And the Dolphins do like to use their running backs as workhorses. Similar to the Falcons, I expected them to go out, either bring in a big-name free agent or bring someone in the draft, and they just didn't do it. So it looks like they're comfortable sticking with Myles Gaskin. And last year, we saw him top 10 plus carries in 7 of 10 games, and he averaged 14.2 carries per game. So that is a lot of carries, especially for a running back going in the 5th round. And that is not even his best skill. His best skill is definitely in the receiving game. He averaged over 4 receptions per game and averaged 9.5 yards per reception. So that is a ton of yards per reception. Basically, every time he's getting the ball out of the backfield, he is making plays. And with Tua being pretty hesitant to push the ball downfield last year, Gaskin could honestly set himself up again to be that safety blanket for Tua, just a guy he can pass the ball off to underneath. And so overall, if Gaskin can hold off this starting role, I think he has legitimate RB1 upside this year. All right, the last guy I'm going to talk about in this video is Raheem Mostert. He is being drafted as the RB29, a late 7th or early 8th round pick, and he's lined up to be the number 1 out of this Niners backfield. I think Trey Sermon will likely be the number 2, and we had Jeff Wilson there, who was really just kind of muddying this backfield. When Jeff Wilson was healthy, I wasn't super excited about targeting any of these backs just because I thought it was going to be a pretty heavy split, but he's going to miss a chunk of this season with a torn meniscus, and Mostert was given the opportunity to be the workhorse last year, so I think this is just a prime opportunity for him to take over. He did struggle to stay on the field last year. He suffered an MCL sprain, then also dealt with a nagging injury throughout the entire 2020 season. But when I looked back at his usage, I think it was really overlooked from last year. He played in 8 games and he was given double-digit carries in 6 of them, and his lowest carry total was 8 in a game. The real issue for Raheem Mostert actually came with getting in the end zone. He only scored 2 rushing touchdowns despite carrying the ball 104 times. So that is just super low in terms of touches per touchdown. But I attribute this more to the 49ers' overall lack of offensive success. The team ranked 21st in points per game in 2020, despite finishing as 3rd in points per game in 2019. You just really saw a huge drop-off from their 2019 offense to the 2020 offense. And I mean, it was pretty obvious why. They dealt with just an absurd amount of injuries, both on the offensive end and defensive end. Jimmy Garoppolo was in and out of the lineup. Their backups were getting hurt. Kittle missed a lot of time. Debo missed time. It was just rough for the 49ers overall. So I expect them to really bounce back here in 2020. And I think Mostert is an ideal fit for this Shanahan system. He is the perfect running back for them. The 49ers offensive line creates huge holes for running backs, and Mostert is an incredibly athletic running back and really can capitalize on those holes with his 4.42 speed. And so if Mostert can secure and maintain that workhorse role, he will have some major value at his ADP. All right, so those are the 3 mid-round running backs that I'm going to be targeting in most of my fantasy drafts this year. So just to recap, it was Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin, and Raheem Mostert. Those are guys I'm going to be looking to acquire this year. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for stopping by, watching, and listening. Once again, if you enjoyed the content, please just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And then let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.